Albert Walker thought that he had committed the perfect murder and that he was going to get away with it scot-free.
He was very charming, very engaging.
He was good. He was very good.
It was almost perfect.
Discovery at sea. At 5 a.m. in Brixham Harbor, Devon, two fishermen began their day. Their first catch was poor, so they moved 6 miles out to a rarely used area called the Roughs. When they pulled up their nets about an hour later, a man's body fell out along with the fish. The Coast Guard was immediately called. At first, the Devon and Cornwall police thought it was a tragic accident. The body was well preserved despite being in salt water. The man wore a long-sleeved shirt, trousers, and brown shoes. The only clues were a Rolex watch and a unique tattoo on the back of his right hand. Police contacted Rolex in London. By checking the serial number, they found the watch had been serviced in Yorkshire for a man named Ronald Joseph Platt. This finally confirmed the victim's identity. Ron Platt had been renting a house in Essex. When police contacted the landlord, they were given the name of Platt's reference, a man called David Davis. When detectives phoned Mr. Davis, he seemed calm, almost too calm. He later met officers, appeared friendly, well-dressed and confident, and gave them a photo of Ron. Everything seemed normal until officers accidentally visited the wrong house while trying to contact Davis again. The neighbors revealed something shocking. The man calling himself David Davis was actually living next door under the name Ron Platt. Police realized the man who had reported being Ron's friend was actually using Ron's identity. A web of lies detectives returned to Essex and questioned neighbors. They learned that Davis lived with a much younger woman and 2 small children, and often traveled to Devon because he owned a boat. Fishermen also revealed another critical detail. An anchor had been pulled up during the same catch as Ron's body. They contacted Ron's ex-girlfriend, Elaine. She described Ron as kind, gentle, and calm. She also explained how she and Ron had met David Davis years earlier. He had charmed them, offered them a job, made them directors of his fake company, and even encouraged them to move to Canada after asking for rubber stamps of their signatures. Years later, when Ron's body was found, Elaine was shocked to learn Davis had spoken to police, but never mentioned Ron's death. She grew suspicious and immediately informed detectives. Soon after, police set up an operation to arrest Davis. When officers finally stopped the taxi he was riding in, Davis stayed calm and cooperative, but carried documents showing both identities, David Davis and Ron Platt. Search reveals the truth. A search of his house uncovered large amounts of cash, gold bars, and artwork. More evidence soon followed. Blood and hair matching Ron were found on a cushion inside Davis's boat, the Lady Jane. Ron's fingerprints were on a shopping bag linked to an anchor, bought shortly before his death. The anchor matched the wounds on Ron's body. Ron's belt carried zinc deposits from the anchor. All signs pointed to Ron being struck unconscious, tied to the anchor, and thrown overboard. Still, police needed one final piece to understand who this man really was. Unmasking the killer. When officers sent his fingerprints to Interpol, the truth was revealed within hours. The man arrested was not David Davis. He was Albert Johnson Walker, a Canadian financial criminal who had stolen millions and fled the country in 1990 with his teenage daughter. He had been on Interpol's most wanted list for years. Walker had created a new life in England, collected identities, stolen money, and eventually murdered Ron Platt to take over his identity permanently. What started as a routine discovery at sea became a complex international investigation that exposed a skilled con man, a stolen life, and a calculated murder disguised as an accident.